I was orbiting Earth when the sky turned black with ships. The early warning satellites never screamed. The Imperial Armada had breached the Kuiper perimeter in total silence, ghosts against the void. By the time we caught the ripple of their distortion drives, they were already at Saturn. And by the time Earth's defense grid went hot, the first of their battleships had passed Mars. I was stationed aboard the ISS Valkyrie, one of the newer orbital defense platforms, a gleaming wedge of steel and plasma above the Pacific. It wasn't built for show. Valkyrie had teeth, railgun batteries, coil cannons, point defense swarms. But none of that mattered when the sky filled with dread. "I don't see flags," I muttered, peering at the tactical display. No declaration, no herald, just death inbound. Captain Vrahl, a woman forged from war and fury, didn't flinch. Her dark eyes watched the holographic map with a kind of calm only soldiers who've lost everything seem to master. "They think we're weak," she said, voice like stone. "That Earth's fractured governments and squabbling colonies made us vulnerable. They came to conquer. We'll show them what Earth does to conquerors." She turned to me. "Lieutenant Rhys, you've seen the simulations. What's your read?" I swallowed. "That's not an invasion fleet. That's an extermination force. Over 9,000 capital ships. And those were just the lead elements. The Empire's armadas stretched back across the system like a virus, black banners and crimson hulls. They were beautiful in the way hurricanes are, if hurricanes carried fusion lances and planet burners. Most of the fleet hailed from the Imperium Vrahl, a species we'd only seen through intercepted signals and the charred remains of colonies. They called themselves the First Flame, rulers of 8 galaxies, extinguishers of resistance. Their motto, when translated, was simple: "We arrive, you kneel, or you are ash." Earth never learned to kneel. Vrahl tapped her command badge. "Activate the ghost net. Full blackout. Scramble Artemis." I punched the codes into my console. The ghost net was humanity's first real advantage, an orbital ECM lattice we developed in secret. It made Earth disappear from most alien sensors. To them, we were a dark spot in a starlit void. Quiet, vulnerable, irresistible. But we weren't invisible anymore. "They're not even slowing down," I said. "Straight vector. Full burn." "They believe Earth is primitive," Vrahl growled. "They still think the Soul War was our only war, that we grew soft after peace. Let them come." It was almost a prayer. I turned back to my screen as Artemis launched, our first retaliatory drone swarms. They rode magnetoplasma slingshot straight toward the Armada, each no larger than the Beetle, each carrying a quark destabilizer. Silent, invisible, and lethal, and then silence. We watched, waited. 3 minutes later, the lead ship, a dreadnought nearly the size of New Zealand, disintegrated into a spiral of atomic light. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Vrahl didn't blink. That's the warning shot. She was right. The next volley wasn't quiet. Earth's defense grid came online with a symphony of fury. Rail cannons fired from the lunar surface. Cryolasers from Antarctica carved burning lines through void. Kessler swarms activated in high orbit, shredding their smaller vessels with clouds of metallic shrapnel. The Imperials returned fire, and Earth trembled. The Valkyrie shuddered as a plasma lance hit our shields. We lost 2 satellites. A mining colony on Phobos went dark. But then, something happened. Something even I didn't see coming. Earth roared back. Ships long dormant in dry docks rose from the oceans. Platforms thought to be relics lit up with new life. Entire mountain ranges opened to reveal fusion cores, and weapons we hadn't dared reveal to the galaxy. We were never as primitive as they believed. We just never had a reason to show it. Until now. I leaned forward as the second wave of Artemis drones began to slice through their command structure like scalpels through tissue. "This isn't war," I whispered. Vrahl turned. "It's justice." And as the Imperial Armada lit the sky ablaze above us, Earth smiled back. The Imperium Vrahl did not believe in defeat. For 1,000 years, their black throne stood atop the ashes of 1,000 civilizations. They burned archives, shattered monuments, and boiled oceans until even memory dared not speak. They believed history was shaped by fire, and they were the eternal flame. But on the second day of their invasion of Earth, the fire began to flicker. I watched it happen, one node at a time, as I sat strapped into the command deck of the ISS Valkyrie, my knuckles white on the armrest, the Earth below gleaming like a defiant jewel. Captain Vrahl stood beside me, silent, still. The command deck was quiet, save for the low hum of energy cycling through our railguns. "Report," she finally said. "Imperial Formation Delta 6 shattered." I answered, eyes scanning the tactical feed. 13 dreadnoughts disabled. For destroyed. One is retreating. Vrahl's lip curled. Good. That one ship, massive wounded, hemorrhaging fire from its starboard flank, was broadcasting something on loop. Not a threat, not a boast, but a single word in broken, panicked Terran standard. "What are you?" I almost pitted them. The Vrahl had only seen us from afar. Grainy vids, obsolete probes, pre-contact records showing a fractured species obsessed with art, war, love, and chaos in equal measure. They never saw what Earth was truly built for. They thought we still fought with flags and bullets. They didn't know about the Black Vault. I turned to Vrahl. "Should I confirm deployment?" "Authorize it," she said. "The vault opens now." The Black Vault wasn't on any official registry. No planetary defense manual mentioned it. It was a legacy weapon, our final argument. Buried beneath the Rocky Mountains, it housed the relics of Earth's deadliest innovations. Things banned by every treaty, hidden after the AI wars, buried when peace was still a dream. And now, humanity had awakened its ghosts. From mountain canyons and ocean floors, they rose, sleek, black vessels with hulls that bent light. Some had no cockpits, no crew, just neural cores wrapped in quantum armor. Ancient intelligences that once ended wars by simply existing. They were called Wraith-class annihilators, and they had one directive etched into their logic: protect Earth, at any cost. The first of them reached low orbit in 4 minutes. In 6, they pierced the Imperial rear lines. In 8, half of the Armada's coordination grid was gone. "They're breaking," I said. "Signal traffic is erratic. Multiple commanders are issuing contradictory orders. Internal AI systems failing to reconcile chain of command. They've never lost before," Vrahl murmured. "They don't know how." The Vrahl didn't understand asymmetric warfare. They were used to flattening worlds with precision fleets and overwhelming force. But Earth wasn't just defending. We were improvising. Every strike from the Armada gave us new data. Every casualty made us faster, smarter, more lethal. By hour 4, the battle had become something else. It wasn't a war. It was a hunt, and we were the predators. I still remember the moment the Imperial Overlord's command ship, the Unyielding Flame, tried to reposition. It banked hard over South Atlantic, drawing power for a full system pulse meant to fry our orbital grid. But we were ready. The Wraiths cut across its vector like obsidian knives. Its engines ruptured. The light around it shimmered, and then imploded. The entire dreadnought collapsed into itself, a silent scream swallowed by vacuum. Overlord-class command ship destroyed. I reported. No survivors detected. The bridge of the Valkyrie erupted in low gasps and stunned silence. Even Vrahl blinked. Then she smiled. But our moment was brief. Alarms flared. "New contacts," my console warned. Multiple wormhole signatures. Long-range displacement drive. Imperial reinforcements inbound. "How many?" Vrahl asked. I stared at the data for a long time. All of them. The rest of the Imperium was coming. The sky dimmed again. Hundreds of signatures. Thousands. The real war hadn't started yet. I looked up at Vrahl. "Orders." She glanced down at Earth, then back to the fire-lit heavens above. "Now we show them what humanity becomes when you try to end us." Her voice hardened. "Tell the Black Vault. Unleash Protocol Titan." I froze. "That's..." She cut me off. "I know what it is. Do it." I keyed the command. Deep beneath Antarctica, something ancient stirred, something we had hoped to never wake. As the second wave of the Vrahl Armada bore down upon us, I felt it like the earth itself had taken a breath. The battle wasn't over. It was just beginning. They thought Earth was done. They thought their reinforcements would crush the last spark of resistance and drown our little blue world in shadow. But then Titan woke up, and everything changed. I watched from the Valkyrie's command deck as the ice cracked in the southern pole, not like a glacier shifting, but like something beneath the continent had grown tired of waiting. The seismic sensors screamed first. A shockwave erupted through the crust with the force of 10 simultaneous nuclear strikes. The old tectonic scars trembled as fissures opened across the Ross ice shelf. Satellites scrambled to adjust for the energy readings, and even from orbit we could see the glow. It wasn't magma. It was power. Deep, ancient, controlled. Captain Rhys stood in front of the main viewport, arms behind her back, as Antarctica bloomed with light. Humanity's final deterrent, she said quietly. Not a weapon, a warning. I whispered it under my breath. Protocol Titan. The Vrahl didn't know. Couldn't know. No alien had ever been allowed to glimpse what we buried after the Third Singularity War. Even we had sworn never to awaken it. But extinction has a way of rewriting odes. Titan rose. At first, it looked like a mountain was moving. Then the mountain stood. From beneath the ice emerged a mechanical colossus. Over 2 kilometers tall, built from exotic alloys no longer found in nature. Its armor plates hummed with ancient runes and plasma veins, pulsing with energy gathered over a century of silence. It was not graceful. It did not need to be. It was built for one purpose. And everything that threatened Earth. The bridge was silent. Everyone stared. The Vrahl fleet, still regrouping from our last counterstrike, didn't even react at first. Their sensors didn't know what to make of it. They thought it was a mining construct or a heat anomaly. Then Titan opened its chest and fired. It wasn't a beam, not in the traditional sense. More like a controlled singularity cannon. Localized gravity collapse focused through quantum lens lenses. The Vrahl dreadnought at the tip of their second wave simply vanished, imploded into a perfect sphere of nothingness. Then the second ship, and the third. Then 12 more. Each strike echoed through the void like a god snapping its fingers. This is impossible. I breathed. It's rewriting physical laws in real time. Rao gave me a sideways glance. No, Lieutenant. It's enforcing them. Ours. The Vrahl Armada reeled. You could see the confusion in their maneuvers. Their formations fractured. Their rear command units began to pull back. Several mid-tier capital ships began broadcasting distress beacons across open channels. This world is cursed. This is not science. This is sorcery. We must report this to the Black Throne. Earth is not to be touched. But it was too late. Titan was fully awake now. It began to move, not like a machine, but like a living mountain. Each step cracked glaciers, kicked tsunamis across the Southern Ocean, and sent out electromagnetic shockwaves that disabled entire clusters of enemy drones. Even their AI-controlled cruisers began to malfunction, unable to comprehend the frequency distortions Titan emitted. It wasn't just fighting the fleet. It was rewriting the battlefield itself. They're in full retreat. I reported, multiple vessels attempting to enter phase space. Rao raised an eyebrow. Let them remember. And still, Titan pursued, not in blind rage, with purpose. One of the last cruisers turned to fire a retaliatory strike, a barrage of neutron-tipped warheads. Useless. Titan caught them in midair with a pulse from its gauntlet. The warheads froze in place and reversed, spinning slowly, now pointed back toward their owners. They detonated in silence. I turned to Rao. Why didn't we use this before? She looked weary, older somehow, because Titan isn't just a weapon. It's a last word. If it ever woke, it meant the dream was gone. The dream, she meant, was peace. We tried to be part of the galactic community. We followed their protocols, played by their rules, tolerated their arrogance, hid what we could do, hid what we were. But the Empire hadn't come to negotiate. They came to burn Earth into myth. So we answered in kind. Titan paused, standing knee-deep in the ocean, its glowing eyes staring into the dark between stars. The Vrahl fleet was scattering now, leaving behind wreckage, screams, and drifting debris. But Rao's voice was low and grim. This isn't over. She was right, because Titan wasn't the only thing buried on Earth, and the Black Throne had yet to strike back. We thought the battle was over. We were wrong. Titan stood victorious, still reed in storms, as the remnants of the Imperial Armada scattered like frightened birds. Earth's defense grid pulsed with cold fury, tracking every retreat vector, every disappearing signature. Silence fell over orbit, the kind of silence you only hear after fire. But in that silence came the whisper, not a message, a presence. The consoles on the Valkyrie flickered. All at once, screens darkened, lights dimmed, systems hummed with unnatural static. Even my implants, it felt like something touched them from the inside. And then the voice came, low, deep, not heard, but felt as though the bones of the ship were translating its presence. You were not meant to rise. Every officer froze. Captain Rhys narrowed her eyes. "Where is that coming from?" she barked. My hands flew across the interface. It's not local, not system-bound. We're not being hailed, we're being observed. Then the visual appeared, not on our screens, but in the air, projected through some alien method we couldn't trace. A shape hovered before us, a figure robed in darkness, impossibly tall, its face hidden behind a crown of black flame. Not a hologram, not a transmission. It felt like the room had been pulled into another dimension. The Emperor, Rhys muttered. They sent him. Emperor Valkyrie Maltirian, wielder of the first flame, heir of the star-devouring throne. Until this moment, we thought he was legend. The immortal ruler of the Imperium Vrahl, architect of 1,000 genocides. Not one species had seen him and survived. Now he looked upon Earth. "You call this defiance?" The voice boomed, each syllable like thunder in our skulls. "You awaken your forgotten sins. You loose your machine giants upon my fleet. You believe this is victory?" I stood, my fists clenched. "We protected our home." I said aloud, unsure if he could hear me, unsure if I cared. "You came to end us, and we ended you." There was a long silence. Then, impossibly, he laughed, not like a conqueror, not like a tyrant, like a god amused. "You believe you have seen war. You have seen a probe. The Armada was not my blade. It was my handshake. I offered you conquest, because I had not yet decided you were worthy of extinction." "Jesus," someone whispered behind me. Valkyrie raised his hand. And suddenly, the stars changed. Literally, the constellations outside our viewport twisted, shifted. Reality bent like it was made of glass. In the distance, near Jupiter's orbit, the void tore open, a black wound in space-time itself. And something came through, not a fleet, a structure. It was larger than Titan, larger than the moon, a fortress of impossible angles and obsidian hulls, its shape changing as we looked at it. It emitted no energy signature, yet disrupted every instrument we had. Its presence felt ancient. "Wrong." Rhys gasped. "That's not a ship. That's a god engine." I checked my sensors. It's rewriting physics around itself. Local gravitational, lensing collapsing. I don't even have the words for this, ma'am. Valkyrie's shadow loomed over us all. "This is the Ark of Ruin. You may have awakened your titans, but I bring the silencers. You will be struck from the record of stars, and your world will become a tomb the galaxy dares not speak of." His image faded, and then the Ark opened. The scream that followed had no source, no frequency. It simply was. A psychic scream across space that made grown soldiers drop to their knees. I bled from the ears. Rhys stood tall, but her knuckles turned white on the rail. In response, Earth moved again. Titan turned toward the Arkansas. The oceans around it surged as its systems surged to maximum power. A second shape rose from beneath Greenland, another Titan-class unit. Older, scarred. Its name lit up on our sensors. Prometheus. I stared. We have more?" Rhys nodded grimly. 6, maybe 7. We lost track. They were hidden so well. Even we weren't sure where they were anymore. But they remembered. And now they were waking up. Humanity had never been passive. We had simply been waiting. The Ark began charging its main weapon. Reality peeled open like paper, raw dimensional energy crackling at its heart. And as Titan and Prometheus stood shoulder to shoulder, Vrahl whispered something I'll never forget. "Let the gods come." She turned to me, eyes burning. "Send the signal. Activate all Black Vault assets. Tell the world, this is no longer defense operation. This is war. We didn't build gods. We became them. When the Ark of Ruin opened and tore the laws of reality with it, humanity didn't run. We didn't cower behind planetary shields or plead for mercy. We stared into that endless abyss, and we answered it, not with words, with titans. I stood on the Valkyrie's trembling bridge, watching as Earth roared to life. Not just in orbit, not just in Antarctica or Greenland. Every continent, every trench, every forgotten vault buried beneath our soil responded. They'd always been there. Legacy constructs, forbidden engines, machines older than the current human governments, weapons of last resort, hidden even from the United Nations Stellar Accord, buried under peace treaties and nightmares. We thought they were sleeping. They were waiting. Valkyrie to Global Command. I shouted, fingers dancing across the console. Black Vault assets confirmed online. 7 Titan-class constructs for Wraith fleets. 2 zero-point artillery cradles, Jesus. 1 planetary phasing node coming online in Australia. Rao didn't blink. Phase of Valkyrie. I froze. "Ma'am." Her voice was sharp, cutting through the rising static. "You heard me, Lieutenant. Valkyrie is not just a station. It's a mobile command citadel. Engage atmospheric anchors. Detach orbital tethers. Bring us down. You're dropping us into battlefield?" She smiled grimly. "We're not observers anymore." With a tremor that could be felt in your soul, the Valkyrie disengaged from low Earth orbit. Giant burn thrusters roared to life, angling us into Earth's stratosphere. The station, once still and serene, now transformed, bulkheads shifting, plasma batteries emerging from sealed hatches, shields recalibrating for atmospheric warfare. We descended with purpose, like a blade descending from heaven. Below us, Titan and Prometheus advanced toward the Ark. And they weren't alone. Hyperion, the desert-class Titan, emerged from beneath the dunes of the old Middle East, its hull scarred by past extinction events. Nyx, rising from Mariana's depths, its silhouette coiled and multi-limbed, designed not for brute force, but for dimensional disruption. They were all different, built by different minds, forged in different crises, fueled by human desperation and defiance. But they shared one purpose: protect Earth at any cost. I looked down at the tactical map. The Ark was unfolding. It wasn't a ship, it was a dimensional citadel, warping space-time around itself. It released smaller vessels, silencers. The Emperor had called them. Smooth, glass-like construct with no engines, no weapons it could identify. But wherever they flew, physics broke. Over Greenland, Titan fired again, a spear of quantum singularity. One silencer absorbed the hit with no effect, then returned fire. Prometheus caught the blow and vanished. 1 second there, the next gone. No explosion, no debris, just erased. I gritted my teeth. We're not ready for this. We don't understand what they're using. No, Rao said quietly, but we understand who we are. She tapped a red key on her command chair. All command units, initiate Ragnarok protocol. Full AI interface authorization. Humanity has declared final war. Across the globe, vaults opened. Operators connected to AI cores previously sealed by law. Pilots stepped into neural rigs, so deep their souls would never quite be the same. Civilians became soldiers. Soldiers became legends. And the Titans, now fully active, screamed. Not audibly, but through the fields, through our implants, through space itself. A chorus of synthetic minds fused with human instincts. Not cold, not calculated. Vengeful, Hyperion hurled a spike spear of dark matter into the Ark's hull. Nyx unleashed a gravity reversal that flung 2 silencers into the sun. And from the void between Earth and Luna, the solar lance, a kinetic rod the size of a skyscraper, descended at orbital velocity. It struck the Ark, and for the first time since its arrival, the Emperor flinched. We saw it, his projection briefly distorted. Not gone, but weakened. Vrahl, clench your jaw. We can hurt him. I check my feeds. We can't kill him. We don't need to, she replied. We need to show him something worse. What's that? That Earth remembers. The Emperor's voice cut through the storm, once again echoing in our skulls. You think this changes your fate? You think Titans will stop me? I am the end. I am the fire that outlives stars. But this time we answered, not with Titans, but with us. Tens of thousands of human ships began to rise from Earth. Civilian vessels refitted into battlecruisers. Mining rigs armed with warheads. Shuttles loaded with suicide squads who didn't believe in impossible odds. Above them flew the last of our great warships, the Dauntless, the Alexandria, the Black Rain, vessels from wars long buried, pulled from retirement for one final campaign. The Emperor wanted to erase us, but he'd made one fatal mistake. He came to our home. And here, every human remembers what it means to fight. The sky was fire, not the poetic kind, not the crimson glow of a setting sun. No, this was war fire. Plasma trails, kinetic shockwaves, and the relentless roar of atmosphere torn open by starships. And we were at the heart of it. The Valkyrie now soared over the Atlantic like a fallen angel, its one stationary hull reforged in war. We tore through cloud banks while surface-to-orbit batteries ignited below. Above us, Titans clashed with silencers in battles too vast for language. I watched through the tactical display as Nyx grappled with a silencer near low orbit. Its tentacle-like limbs flickered in and out of phase, tangling with a smooth alien construct, both blinking between dimensions, locked in a dance of death. This isn't a battle, I muttered. It's a rewriting of existence. Captain Rhys stood beside me, her voice steel-cold, and we're the authors now. Below us, Hyperion was falling. The Titan's left arm had been shorn clean by a silencer's phase pulse. Its chest cavity was ruptured. It crashed into the African savanna, carving a crater the size of a city. We heard the operator's final words before signal loss. For Earth and for the right to be human. I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood. How many are down? I asked. 4 of 7 Titans remain, came the grim reply from Ops. We've lost Prometheus. Hyperion is non-responsive. Gaia is still buried under Amazon basin defenses. No signal. The silencers are advancing. But Earth wasn't done. All across the globe, humanity was on fire. Swarm fleets of retrofitted civilian vessels dub its silencers like locusts. We watched as entire squadrons sacrificed themselves to stall a single enemy ship. In orbit, orbital gun platforms detonated in controlled bursts, slinging molten shrapnel into phase pockets to break the silencer's perfect forms. We didn't match them in elegance. We drowned them in desperation. And it worked. One silencer collapsed near Cairo, its core imploding, caught in a destabilization net made from ancient Terran tech, reverse engineered from black hole event horizons. Another was dragged beneath the ocean by Nyx, which refused to let go even as its hull shattered. The Emperor's voice returned, no longer calm. Enough. Above Earth, the Ark of Ruin opened again, wider this time. A final form emerged. A creature. No, an avatar. Not metal. Not flesh. A thing between. 20 stories tall. Cloaked in fire that moved like water. Crowned with fractured halos that spun in opposite directions. It landed in the Pacific and began walking toward the west coast. Every step created tidal waves. Every breath unraveled the air. Rao didn't blink. Is that him? I stared at the readings. That's Valkyrie, in person. The Emperor had come to finish us himself. Panic rippled across global comms. But not Rao. She tapped into Earth's secure command net. To all Titan operators. All command vessels. All fire bases. This is Valkyrie Actual. The enemy is here. The enemy is vulnerable. Do not retreat. She stepped forward, eyes aflame. We were born in gravity wells and ice ages. We survived extinction events and clawed civilization out of volcanic ash. We do not bow to kings, gods, or monsters. Not in this lifetime. Not in any. The comms lit up with confirmations. Humanity would fight. Everywhere. Even if it meant the end. Valkyrie raised his hand. The sky shattered, a wall of dark energy ripping through the upper atmosphere. We lost 5 ships instantly. Entire air corridors collapsed. Cities below flickered as the power grid buckled. And still we charged. From orbit, the solar lance repositioned. Aimed directly at the Emperor. He's not standing still. I warned. Targeting will be impossible unless... I'll do it manually, Vrahl interrupted. My head snapped to her. What? She was already strapping herself into the Valkyrie's override cradle. I'm linking into the lance controls. 1 shot. We won't get another. Ma'am, the radiation from that kind of burst. I know, she said quietly. And I don't care. I swallowed. She looked at me, finally, not as a commanding officer, but as someone who had already accepted the cost. Tell Earth, she said. Tell them we're not losing today. She slammed the ignition key. Far above, the solar lance began its descent. The Emperor looked up. Too late. The lance hit him dead on. The blast lit up the world. Every shadow disappeared. Sensors went blind. The ocean boiled. Silencers screamed. And when the light faded, the arc of ruin cracked. Its surface spiderweb with fractures. The Emperor's body burned, twisted. He wasn't dead, but he bled. And that's when the truth hit me. We weren't meant to win. We were meant to survive long enough to wound him, to show the galaxy. We burn brighter. Even in our last breath, we burned too hot for the void to hold. The world didn't end. But for a moment, it paused. The solar lance's impact rippled through the upper stratosphere like a god hammer. The oceans recoiled. The sky turned white. And the Arc of Ruin, once a monument to galactic supremacy, hung cracked and flickering above Earth like a wounded beast. On the Valkyrie's bridge, emergency power flickered to life. Smoke coiled from the scorched conduits. My hearing was half gone. My hands trembled. My skin was warm with radiation, even through shielding. But I was alive. Captain Vrahl. I shouted, stumbling toward the command cradle. She didn't answer. I reached the core chair, her neural rig sparking, chest monitors dim. Vrahl was still, head tilted, eyes shut, gone. She gave her last breath to fire the lance. She never hesitated, never blinked. She had no children, no family. Earth was all she had left, and she died protecting it. I reached out, hand trembling, and straightened her badge. You held the line? I whispered. Outside the viewport, Valkyrie still stood. Damaged, bleeding cosmic flame. But standing, the Emperor of the Imperium Vrahl turned his eyes toward the Valkyrie. Even wounded, even broken, his form crackled with the heat of dying stars. Impressive. His voice echoed in my skull. A lesser world would have begged, but you chose fire. I stood weak, armor-scorched, throat dry, and I looked him in the eye. Earth doesn't kneel. He took a step forward and staggered. From the clouds, Titan reappeared, arm melted, half its torso torn away, but still walking. Behind it came Nyx, limping on shattered joints, dragging a plasma-scarred silencer husk in one of its many tendrils. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They were our rage made manifest. And they weren't alone. Humanity was rising again. From orbital stations once presumed lost. From hidden bases beneath cities. From deep bunkers beneath the crust. They rose, wounded, furious, relentless. Our fleets, though halved, were reformed in real time by AI engineers running full cognition loops. Civilian survivors synced their remaining drones to fire control networks. Artillery roared from mountain peaks, deserts, seabeds. Anywhere with breath left to fight. Valkyrie raised a broken hand, and then paused, not from weakness, from doubt. We weren't dying. We were multiplying. Because Earth was never about perfection, never about symmetry, never about superiority. We are chaos wrapped in iron. We are defiance bred in extinction. We are hope that refuses to go out, even under a god's heel. The Emperor looked to the heavens, to the cracked remains of the Ark, sparking and folding upon itself. And for the first time in his long, tyrannical reign, he turned away. Valkyrie disengaged. He didn't fall. He fled. The Ark ignited its final drive. Unstable, lashing light in all directions. Then with a burst of spatial distortion, it vanished, leaving behind ruined silence and a scorched corner of the universe that would forever be called the world that said no. I collapsed to my knees. The bridge was quiet now. Earth was still burning, still bleeding. But we were alive, and that meant we had won. As I stared out over the fractured battlefield, Titan standing in the crater Pacific, clouds breaking around his form, I realized something. The galaxy would come again. Other empires, other flames. But now they would remember. That little blue world at the edge of a spiral arm. The one they tried to break. The one that burned brighter than death. The one that stood alone and did not fall.